The most important element of any relationship is strategic lying. Now, you have to master the art of the lie if you want things to work out. And not all lies were created equal. There are some that are more versatile, there are some that are just more effective more often. There are others that simply won't work in every situation in which you need them to work, and you need to avoid those. Right now, I'm going to give you a little capping crash course, nothing too in depth, but basically, I'm going to give you the lie, when it's used best, and basically explaining why it's such a good lie. First one, we're coming in hot, okay? I'm going through a lot right now. Chef's kiss, amazing lie, extremely versatile. Now, you want to use this in a situation where you're in a relationship with this person, but you're not in too deep. You don't want it to be a point where they feel like if you're going through something, they should know exactly what it is. You need a little bit of separation between you two. And it's good for when you do have that space because you're sheltering yourself and they cannot get in without being nosy. And no one wants to be that nosy person invading their partner's personal space. You can use this lie to get away with almost anything. Say you've been having a bad attitude. You just feel like being mean to your partner. Tell them you've been going through something. Then they kind of have to let that slide, don't they? Maybe you're being a bit distant. Tell them you're going through something. Again, they have to let it slide. They don't actually have a choice unless they, in their minds, need to become the bad guy and just not care about what you're going through. And something about the lies on this list, and any lie you're going to tell that's actually going to be a successful lie, is they could easily be the truth. And what do I mean by this? I mean that regardless of whether or not it's the truth, you can't prove it to be true, you can't prove it to be false, it's 100% hearsay. Like, I'm going through something right now is something you would say when you're actually going through something right now. Like, it's not just a made up phrase just for when you need to lie to somebody. I'm talking to this young lady, right? And I told her I was making these videos. I was like, it's gonna be like top 5 lies to tell your significant other. And she was like, what are the lies? And I was like, I don't think you wanna look at these because these are things that I tell you consistently. Now, am I lying to her? She'll never know. So I had to explain to her, I was like, look, these are things that I say, yes, when I'm telling the truth. That's what makes them such good lies. And I feel like a lot of people have a hard time understanding that. Like, when I tell people about my favorite lies on other platforms, people are always like, oh, great, now I know what to look out for if someone says that, red flag. And it's like, no, like this is a real sentence that anybody can say. If because you watch this video, you see someone saying, I'm going through something right now, as an automatic lie, no matter who says it, you're gonna end up being very mean to a lot of people. And that's my point. In an ideal world, they're just gonna think you're telling the truth, all right? But you need to make them play this game of whether, like, jumping across the fence, is he lying, is he not lying, is she lying, is she not lying? And the really important thing about the I'm going through something right now is you low-key can't accuse someone of lying when they say that. Like, if someone comes up to you, they're like, yo, I'm so sorry, I've been going through a lot, sorry, such and such happened, but I've been going through a lot. And you're like, oh, you're lying? You're not gonna do that. You know why? You're a human being. And so are other people. This other person's probably more of a human being than you, and what you need to do is exploit that aspect of their personality. Lying is all exploitation of someone's character. Like, if someone doesn't have high character, a lot of lies aren't gonna work on them because they're simply not gonna care. But someone who's loving, cares about you, and really wants the best for you, oh my gosh, easy money, barbecue chicken. Again, I'm going through a lot right now. You can say it at any time. They can't force you to open up. It's kind of the biggest cheat code out of these lies, I'd say, except for the last one, but we'll get there. Now, lie number 2, this is kind of a compound lie. I really like this one. I don't know if you've had a traumatic experience with your ex, like genuinely, I don't know if you have, but if you haven't, absolutely make one up, okay? Make this the worst ex imaginable to the point where they can't fault you at all. Now, granted, some people are getting hip to this method, so you can't trash your ex too much for anything frivolous, otherwise it's gonna look like you're the guilty party. But I mean, accuse them of something horrendous. If you say your ex hit you, if you say your ex assaulted you in any way, for one, you get the pity points off the bat, and we love pity points. Pity points is what makes the world go round, okay? People pity you, and they're going to want to see you succeed. They're going to want to see the truth in you, even if you tell something that's an obvious lie. This is going to make everything so much easier for you. You can completely disarm someone if they feel bad for you. It's kind of like a baby kitten effect. If I were to show you a baby kitten, I'd be like, yo, I found this baby kitten like in a box in the middle of the road. It almost got ran over, and you see the cat looks all sad and cold and lonely. You're like, oh, like, look at this little cat. But then I tell you, like, oh yeah, he scratched my thigh up, you know, I'm completely marked up because of him. You low-key wouldn't care because it's a little kitten. And you see people do that with their pets all the time. Like, they let their pets scratch all over them, but they're like, my kitten. You can do that as a human being. Now, mind you, some people have pride, okay? They don't want to be pitied like that. But I'm telling you this right now. If you put your pride aside, they will literally let you walk all over them and then tell me who's in power. Some of you are so concerned with the optics of someone looking down at you that you don't acknowledge where you actually are. Like, y'all could think I'm broke right now. Imagine I have some hole in the wall. Like, you just see stuff in the back room where you're like, oh man, this dude's definitely, he's struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. But I know I got bands. why would I really care that you think I'm broke? Actually, let me turn it back on you. Say you know for a fact you have more money than me. Like, this is just something you somehow know and I don't know. And I come up to you and I'm like, yo, you're broke. You want $100? Are you going to correct me and tell me that you have more money than me and not collect the $100? Or are you going to suck it up and realize, oh my gosh, now I'm just going to be up even more tremendous? So accept that pity is doing you justice, of course, within reason. You don't want to get to the point where you're embarrassing yourself so they feel so bad for you that they lose attraction, but within reason. That's why, oh my gosh, my ex used to do XYZ, my ex used to hit me. Perfect lie, okay? Because they can't actually fault you for that. And they can't in their right mind flip it and be like, wait, what's up with you though? Because in other lies, if you're like, oh man, my ex was just crazy, blah, 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 then they're like, okay, what was going on with you though? Because that kind of sounds one-sided. If you say they hit you, they're not going to ask any follow-up questions. And I don't mean actually accuse a physical ex you have of hitting you. I mean make up a fantasy ex to have this character trait plastered on. Now for the second part of this lie, okay, this is a two-parter, this is the best part. This is a lie that you need to get them to squeeze out of you, okay? You can't volunteer it necessarily. You need to hint at it, and then eventually they'll get to the point where they're like, no, please tell me what's on your mind. So basically they're doing something, all right, something you don't like, and you start acting off. You're like, just like that annoying murmuring. Maybe you're in an argument and you're just like stuff like that. And then when they confront you, when they're like, yo, what's up? Say, no, I don't know. I don't really want to say it, and I don't want you to take it the wrong way. They're going to prompt you. They're going to be like, what? Like, what are you talking about? You say, this is exactly what my ex used to say, or that's exactly what my ex used to do. Imply that there's a very real fear of them turning into your abusive ex. What are they going to do when they hear this? Okay, this is why I said most lies work most effectively on a good person. A good person is going to freak out. They might crash out over this. They might start crying in front of you, and you're going to have to hold in those laughs. They're going to hit you with the, no, I would never. They're going to start catering to you. It's going to be beautiful for you. You played it perfectly. Now remember, right here, you have to remember the technique, because if you were to just go out and say, hey, you're doing what my ex used to do, blah, 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 they're just going to think it's an insult, and they're not going to take it well at all. In this instance, if you follow the technique, they literally cannot be mad at you because they made you say what you said. Something that's beneficial to all lies for is them feeling like they forced you to say it. They are much less likely to think that you're lying if they feel like they really just had to drag that information out of you. Because think about it, you're torturing someone. They're interrogating you. They're like, hey, come on, they're trying to get to the bottom of it. Again, torture victim. If you're torturing someone and they tell you anything, you're most likely going to assume it's the truth. And anytime you're pestering someone for any form of answer, that is a minuscule form of torture. So you saying anything is going to feel like a big reveal. Like, it's not going to feel like something you're just saying. Because if you say things unprovoked, it's much more easier for people to think you're lying. When they squeeze that, oh my gosh, you're acting like my ex lie out of you, I promise you it changes everything. They will begin to act in ways you never thought they could. The way they were acting when you said that, they are going to bend themselves into a pretzel trying not to repeat that. And also, I know you might be thinking, oh man, saying my ex hit me might be a bit much. Look, if you simply say something like they cheated on you, that's kind of just telling your partner that, man, cheating on them, that's kind of fair game because they dealt with it before. And be honest, we all know getting cheated on is a red flag, but if you can find something between getting cheated on and getting hit, be my guest, you can go ahead and use it. Anyways, lie number 3. I'm scared you're going to leave me. Now, this is very similar to the I'm going through a lot right now. And I mean that in the sense of versatility and avoiding blame. You can get away with anything by saying this. Oh, I'm being extra irritable and snappy because I'm afraid you're going to leave me. Oh, I've been extra distant. I've been pushing you away because I'm afraid you're going to leave me. Now, this is going to blow their head up a bit, but don't worry, we're fine. We already talked about that, the whole perception thing. People love feeling like they're saving someone. They love feeling like your life is better with them around and your life would be worse if they weren't around. They want to feel important. They want to feel needed, all right? So if you give them this opportunity, they're going to eat it up every time. They're going to look at you like that little baby kitten now, okay? And they're going to offer you all sorts of assurance like, oh no, I'll never leave you, blah, 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 which always feels good to hear. And honestly, you can use an alteration of this line to get out of the relationship if need be. I don't know why you wouldn't just ghost them, but you can be like, oh, I don't think you like me for like, you don't love me. You just love the idea of me. That way, when you break up, you're not the bad guy. They're going to be looking at themselves like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't make them feel loved. What's wrong with me? I miss them so much. They're actually probably going to come back to you and be like, no, I'll do better. I promise. And you can hit them with the, actually, I don't know what you want to do in that instance. There's a couple angles you could hit. You could hit the risky angle where you break up with them to try to get them to come crawling back. That way, when they're back, they feel like they owe you something. Or you break up with them just to see them grovel. And this is the perfect instance to see them grovel. At the end of the day, it simply makes them feel bad. And that's all you need to do sometimes. Lie number 4, a family member is in peril. Something bad happened to a family member. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, but you said earlier this shouldn't be able to be proven true or false. The thing is, this can't be if you play it right. Now there's a couple ways you can go about this the right way. One being an immediate family member who has no problem lying on your behalf, making something up about them on your behalf. Like my mom is like that. I could tell anybody my mom's dealing with anything right now and she would have no problem cooperating the story. Now that obviously helps in the instance where you have to prove yourself, but that's not always going to be the case. And I'd rather not factor in other people in the lies. Another way you can make this work is if you choose a family member that's distant enough for them to justify having never met. Like if I'm taking this person seriously that I'm dating and I'm like, oh my gosh, my sister's in the hospital, it's very likely that at some point they will meet my sister or have already met her. Again, that can work just fine if my sister wants to corroborate the story, but again, it's too many threads. What if I don't trust my sister with the lie? There's a lot of balls in the air there. That's why you keep it distant and you keep it with someone very reasonable that you never really have to bring them up again. That's why my go-to is usually cousin. Because who's really locked in with their cousins like that? Like me personally, I have so many cousins, third cousins, second cousins, first cousins. And there's some cousins that, yeah, things have actually happened to them, but I'm not really locked in with any of them like that. Like I don't really know. But at the same time, this is perfect because when things happen to them, I have an excuse. I'm like, oh, I'm so sad, when. But also, they're far enough away to the point where I can never bring them up to my partner again and it'll be perfectly fine. And the thing is, you don't even have to show them a picture of your cousin. You can just be like, oh my gosh, me and my cousin, like we were so close growing up, but we kind of grew apart. Now this thing happened to them. I'm so sad, when. Now, 1, pity points, all right? We've already established why we like those. And also, this can get you out of so many things. Who wants to hassle someone that they think is having some sort of family travesty? And again, this is another thing where who's going to ask you to prove that? Like I'll say, oh, my cousin's in the hospital with a heart issue. Like what you want, his receipt when he gets out of the hospital? It would make no sense. Some of the most useful lies are lies that you can't confront, lies that you would feel very odd pressing someone to see if they're actually true. My mom actually taught me this growing up. My sophomore year of high school, I was playing JV basketball and there's this one game I couldn't go to. And I mean, I could physically go, but mentally, no. There was a whole situation that was going to be at that game, different story for a different day, but I'm begging my mom. I'm like, Mom, please don't make me go, blah, blah, blah. And basically she, after a little back and forth, she was like, you know what, I'm going to tell them that you had an asthma attack. And I'm like, Mom, like what if they ask for proof, blah, blah, blah. She was like, Bryce, they're not going to ask you for proof, especially when it's something you could almost pass away from. She's like, Bryce, do you have any idea how stupid that would make them look? And the thing is, my mom actually loved making people look stupid in these situations. Off topic, but long story short, in middle school, I was playing football and I got hurt during practice and all the coaches basically thought I was faking. But then once I went to the doctor, something happened to my Achilles. I ended up in crutches. She's like, Bryce, you're going to go back to the practice with your crutches and with the paper saying what you have to make them look like idiots. And I love that moment for me because, and this actually factors in, by the way, as much of a lie enthusiast I am, I know my way around a lie or two, I hate being accused of lying. And that's why I got so good at this because I'm like, yo, even if I am lying to someone, if they accuse me of lying to them, I'm gonna crash out. And an important thing with lying is make sure you don't have a tell, okay? Make sure you don't give it away. Like my ex, she had a lying face. She'd be like, what? No, what are you talking about? Very ugly face. I could tell whenever she was lying because I just didn't like looking at it. It was kind of horrible. Me, on the other hand, when I'm accused of lying, I feel the same exact amount of anger I do, regardless of whether or not I'm actually lying. Because if you accuse me of lying when I'm telling the truth, I'm like, oh my gosh, here I am telling the truth and you're going to accuse me of lying. But if I'm lying and you accuse me of lying, I'm like, you're really going to sit here and accuse me of lying when I know I'm lying way too good for you to make these accusations? So remember, if you're called out for lying, stay calm. Unless you're not a calm person, then crash out. Be whatever is natural to you. All right, y'all, the 5th and final lie, and this is the best lie of them all. I love you. It cooks every time. It cannot be beat, okay? It gasses them up the perfect amount. You can use it to add some weight to a BS apology. And my personal favorite, they say it first and you don't love them back, but you say it back anyway, but now you know you have something over them. You know this individual has such strong feelings towards you and you know they think that you share those feelings with them. But now they're really in the palm of your hands because you know you can manipulate them into doing whatever. You can say I love you in happy or sad moments to milk whatever vibe you need to. And the thing is, when you tell someone you love them, they low-key just believe it. Like, isn't that so weird? Like, you think they would question you. You think there would be like a frame of, hey, like, is that true? Like, why? Like, what made you come to this conclusion? But nah, they just be accepting it. Then Months later, they're probably going to hit you with the, oh, but why do you love me though? Now you can just say BS. You can just name qualities about them and say that you love it. But sometimes these people have no redeeming qualities. I remember this one girl, she was like, hey, why do you love me? And I was like, yo, you just make me feel like blah, blah, blah. And she was like, no, I'm not asking how I make you feel. I'm asking, what do you love about me? And that's when I realized, I was like, man, Shorty has no redeemable qualities. I'm struggling here. I love you honestly goes without a need for introduction or explanation. You know when to use it. You know how to use it. You know the situations you can manipulate by using it. All right. It's one of those things that humans just innately know to lie about. But also, here's another lying tip. Okay. You have to find the lies that work for you. The way I found these lies worked personally is these were things that I've actually said being truthful. And I was like, wait a minute. These have an effect on people when I say these things. So if I were to say these things when they're not true, I could still have the same effect without having to deal with any of the reality of what I'm saying, because it's not real. And people look down on lying, but here's the thing, okay? It's just words at the end of the day. Just like the truth is just words. They happen to just have different levels of reality to them, do you even want to say? But even reality is just a word, okay? We're living on a giant space rock. You know how crazy that is? Nothing means anything. I'm literally just making noises at you right now that we decided mean certain things when I say them in certain ways. Can you believe that? There was a point in time where you saying yes wouldn't mean anything. Like, it would just be a noise that you're making. Anyways, that's all for me. I appreciate you for watching. Never stop lying. Like, comment, subscribe, everything I have to say. I'm so sorry. And, just have a great day, okay? Have a